welcome back to Bears on Tap. We have finally won a football game, a snowy bear weather football game up in Seattle against Mr. Unlimited, who was a little limited on what he could do yesterday. But Nick Foles leads the troops into Seattle, come back home to Chicago with a 25-24 victory over the Seahawks, who are also left for dead. They are not a playoff team either. So it's really just one of those games at the end of the season that fills the schedule, but they found a way to come back and win a game late. And, you know, you saw some good things out of some of the young guys like Khalil Herbert, obviously David Montgomery. But the one thing that you did see was just that, like, no-quit mentality, and they finally won one of those one-possession games. Ron, we'll start with you. Where were you at on this game?
Yeah, man. I mean, it was nice. It was fun to watch a winning football game. I know, like, a lot of people are like, well, it's a day late and $1 short. And yes, I kind of feel the same way at the end of the day, but it's just nice to see winning football. It's nice to see, David Montgomery have a good game. And I think one thing I think we can all take away from the game is, like, all the guys were still playing hard. Like, anytime you saw a guy get the ball, he was running hard. He's breaking tackles. Like, that's good. That's at least a sign that these guys are in good spirits, despite the fact that they're fucking 5-10 right now with 2 games to play. So it was certainly nice to see. And Merry Christmas to you too, Alap. Good to see you, sir. But yeah, hey man, a win's a win. It was ugly, and how about Jimmy Graham too at his old stomping grounds getting to?
That was the weirdest play. That was the weirdest play. I swear, I didn't even think that was a touchdown until I saw him come down with it, because Nick Foles just said, "Fuck it, Jimmy's down there somewhere."
Yeah. Just hucked it up and said, "Here we go and see what happens."
Dude, Jimmy didn't even jump on that, by the way. Like, it looked he tried, but like it looked like he barely left the ground and just like was in front of the dude and caught it. It was crazy.
It was like Game 7 of the NBA Finals trying to box out for a rebound. Like, it was, like you said, no matter what, like, that game was pretty much on ice. Like, the defense had to produce a stop late. We got a missed field goal in the fourth quarter. We were able to piece together 2 drives that we were able to finish in the end zone, which, as you guys know, we get the ball down into the red zone and into plus territory, but that's where our offense just shuts down. We had a couple of those drives yesterday. Still, you're not going to get a perfect game from this team, especially with Matt Nagy at the throne. But to see, they were hitting Mooney, they were hitting Kmet, they were hitting Damiere Byrd. Like, they were getting everybody involved on those late drives. And then, too, like Montgomery on the checkdowns, he's good for, like, 5 extra yards after he gets touched every single time. Like, he just refuses to go down. But the catch from Damiere Byrd on the 2-point conversion, and as someone who's a psychopath and sick individual who had the Bears as the last leg of his parlay, that play was everything, and it got them the win. I somehow found a way to cash a nice little plus 4,000 ticket, and honestly, like Ron said, at this point of the season, we're not, we're 5-10. What does the game really matter for? You at least saw that effort, and you saw that determination to still go out there and produce a win on the road in a game that most people had written us off in.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just us guys that feels this way. We got a couple people in the comments here too. Cody Delmendo, our boy Cody on tap. He couldn't believe what he watched yesterday. Cody, I'm right there with you. I said the exact same thing when Bird caught that. Speaking of Damiere Byrd, our boy Scott from Iowa, Scott Crawford, he said Big Dick Nick to Bird saved the season for him. And you know what? I kind of enjoyed that play because it wasn't it wasn't just Damiere Byrd wide the hell open. Like,
I thought that play was dead, dude. The second Foles rolled out, I go, fried. GG. Yeah. I go, we're going to need an onside kick.
Did you see
waited
the
a
video?
Long time on that.
Did you see the video of what Foles said about that play?
I did not.
So the video, it was him just talking after the game, and they asked about that play, and he's like, honestly, we've run that play numerous times. He goes, Damiere Byrd actually improvised on that play because he read the opening in the coverage. He goes, if he doesn't improvise on that play doesn't work, and we don't get the 2 points. Like, Damiere Byrd recognized, because I rewatched it earlier because I was like, I'm going to keep my eye on Byrd and kind of see where he goes. You see him immediately. He takes 2 steps to break into his route, and he literally turns around and backpedals to the back of the end zone because it was just a big pocket there.
And then the catch, too.
Foles actually threw it late, too.
That man was in traffic, like 5 p.m., trying to get down to Chicago traffic. Like, there was 3 people in there. He caught it, like, on someone's back and still managed to get both his feet down. And then, too, like, the game wasn't over then. I mean, I'm not saying Russell Wilson was going to drive the troops down because they were going to need like 50, 60 yards. It wasn't just get to the 35 and kick a field goal. Their kicker was missing like 38, 42 yarders. Like he wasn't money by any stretch of the imagination. And the defense, they just continue to produce stops in what many would say is meaningless football. And at least moving forward with the question marks that we have on keeping guys down the road, at least we know that those like auxiliary guys, those not backup guys, but like the complementary guys like the Bilal Nichols of the world. You see good things from Thomas Graham. I know it's only 2 games. I'm going to knock on wood so I don't jinx it. But the side guys, not the main attraction, those guys are doing well. And then Robert Quinn, another great performance. And it really makes you mad because imagine how much better our defense would be if we had Khalil and Robert at the same time.
I just said that to somebody earlier.
We can never have – we only have one or the other. We never have them both at the same time, and you can only imagine what they're going to be like if we get them together at some point next season.
100%. Yeah, I mean they're unstoppable when they're together, especially when they're at the height of the playing right now. Like if this is the Robert Quinn we had last season with a healthy Khalil Mack, they would have been unbeatable.
At least one more win. At least one more win.
Yeah, like every quarterback would be shitting their pants on third down, knowing those two were coming off the edge. And honestly, another guy that Alat brings up here in the comment, Cole Kmet looked really good yesterday. I know he only didn't have a ton of work. I think his final line, and I'll double check my numbers here. 4 catches, 49 yards. Yeah, that's exactly what he had on 5 targets. But yeah, I agree with exactly what Alat says. Like he was catching short passes, and like that's what they need Kmet to be. He doesn't need to be like, trying to like, juke guys or whatever. Like he just needs to run through people, and he was running through people yesterday in Seattle.
And the thing is like people will try to say he's not fast. Like he's 270 pounds and he runs a 4.7. I don't know how much separation they expect him to get, but like you said, Ron, when he does catch the ball, it's not like he just goes straight down. Like he is a load to tackle, and that's what he thrived at in Notre Dame. A lot of what he did at Notre Dame was in the seam and like in the middle of the field, and then he was creating after that. So obviously with the Waffle House menu and the bald guy calling plays, we'll see what the next guy has in store for a Cole Kmet. But honestly, like this is going to sound crazy, the one room that hasn't really had that many issues all year long and has gone under the radar as far as recognition is that tight end room. Jimmy Graham, Cole Kmet, Jesper Horsted, like they've all put together pretty good seasons. People are, I don't know why they're so hard on Cole Kmet, but if you stack his numbers up against some of the people that are the standard, like the Kelseys and all those of the world, they're right there. Like they're not above it, but they're in the same area of those guys. And that's a terrible way to measure where someone will be in 3 years in the NFL because you never truly know. But get us like a good number 1 receiver moving forward so that we can have like a sugar and spice with Mooney and then maybe like more of a possession receiver or even another fast guy. Like, fuck it, who cares? But the tight end position moving forward, obviously losing Graham in the future and then who knows what will happen with Horsted, getting a second tight end that is of the quality of those two is going to be another important thing for this team moving forward.
Yeah. I mean, I'll try to answer like why people are so down on Kmet. Like the reason why I think it is, and I've heard it even from people that are close to me, like I think people just didn't want him to be the pick there in the second round where he was picked. And like that's like everybody's biggest knock is they think that he hasn't been as bad as some people make it out to be, of course. And I think there's stuff to build on there. And like we look at last year and he didn't get that much playing time until like midway through the season or after that. Yeah. So it's like you basically lost your rookie year or a lot of your rookie year. And Facebook, actually, I just got a notification on Facebook. I don't know why I said that. That was a brain fart. That
was Facebook.
Yeah, no Facebook.
Like, are you on the Bears Facebook pages where those are just cesspools of people?
No, I think it was my mom actually. But yeah, that's she's always on that thing. Anyways, no, there's a lot of cess on Facebook too, just like Twitter. But I think people just didn't like where he was selected, like with the talent that was around him in that draft. Like other potential picks. But I mean, what do you want from a guy that, like, rookies always struggle too at the tight end position? So it's like now we're finally seeing, he can put up some numbers. He has struggled with some drops this year at key points, and we've seen that in games that even one of them was picked off. I mean, it was a terrible drop, but I don't know, man. I'm impressed by what Komet's shown overall, and especially like you said with the menu that Nagy rolls out every week with this the play calling. I mean, what do you really want? Like, he's not being creative enough with Cole Kmet. You could use him in more of these tight end screens and stuff, kind of like what they were trying to do with Trey Burton at first. But I mean, he wasn't really even using him that way. So,
I think that's the most incredible part about yesterday that no one's talking about. Not that the players were able to go out there and make the plays, that Freezerburn was able to call 2 drives that netted us 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. And then the 2-point conversion play. Because when have we been in a situation all year where one play will go and win us the game? That one play will directly, we haven't. And to have the rollout, to have the protection, to have, like what Ron said, the intelligence on the fly to improv your route and get open, like all those things had to go right. And then the throw had to be good. So there was a lot that had to go right for them to get that done. And it's never a pretty win. This team, unfortunately, I think almost all of our wins have been ugly this year, with the exception of maybe the Raiders game. And even that one got kind of ugly in the second half. But there's talent on this team. It sucks that we don't have a first-round draft pick moving forward, but there are going to be a lot of decisions, a lot of, I don't know what you would say, like maybe pink slips. Like, obviously, the Rappaport report this morning saying that, like, there's been no decision made on Matt Nagy. Like, I think that if you guys know anything about the Chicago Bears, that this is an organization that keeps everything close to the vest. It's too early to tell. They're not going to do it during the season if they didn't do it already, and they're going to do it probably on Black Monday, which is the Monday after Week 18, and that is when everyone gets fired. So if they wait any longer than that, there might be actual riots at Hallis Hall. Not that we will be there, but Bears fans are crazy, and that would be the day that I would say if nothing has been done by that Monday after Week 18, then I'd be a little bit worried.
Yeah, I agree. And going back to what, like, you guys said too, right, with like the Kmet piece, I just want to circle back on that really quick, because I think a lap has kind of literally – I think a lap is in my brain right now because he keeps taking things that I'm thinking of. But I agree with this. If Jalen Johnson and Cole Kmet are flipped in that draft, 43 and 50, again, just the aesthetic that people have of seeing when a guy is picked, I think people don't freak out as much. But I think the reason why Pace went and did what he did, because that was a very corner-heavy draft. I think he knew they could probably get Jalen later. I know they said they were still excited to see Jalen at 50, like they weren't sure he was going to be there. But they clearly wanted Kmet more, and that was a need the team had. They needed a tight end. Burton didn't work out. You couldn't rely on Jimmy Graham given his age. That was just a strictly hey, we need a veteran tight end in here.
Yeah. You couldn't rely on Trey Burton because he quit on the team.
Right. And and just overall, like, Cole Kmet was the best tight end in that draft, the undisputed, like the number one tight end. He wasn't going to last probably more than a few more picks. Like, he probably would have gone before the Bears picked again at 50. Let's be completely honest. Somebody would have taken a shot on a guy like Cole Kmet. So the fact that they did what they did, like, I think people getting so overwhelmed and like caught up in the whole like first and second round pick nonsense drives me nuts, right? Yeah. Because like somebody might be like, oh, well, this guy was a first round pick. Well, yeah, he's the 32nd overall pick. Well, this guy was a second-round pick. He was number 35. What the fuck's the difference?
Yeah, no,
they're 3 picks away from each other.
Right, the draft, we know just as much as anyone, since we did so much draft stuff last year, that the draft is a crapshoot. And, dude, like, you'd be lucky to be hitting that over 50% on the draft. Because if you look at it like that, if you have a pick in each round, and then you probably have one extra pick. So let's say, for all intents and purposes, you go into the draft with 8 picks, right? 2 of those guys probably aren't making the roster right off the rip, like the 7th round guys. Like, that's just how that goes. And then, like, the other 6 guys, who knows? Maybe you'll get 2 guys that end up being impact players. Who knows? And then on top of that, you got UDFAs. You're picking up people off other teams' practice squads. There's a lot that goes into building a team. And when you have an organization that's not run by football people, you run into issues like this. Like, not that Ted Phillips is out there scouting the football players, but I mean, I think we need a little bit more football-minded people than the people that we have at the top. And then obviously, like, Ryan Pace does well in the draft. I wouldn't say he's like a premier drafter, but he does find value in spots that most people cannot, and that's one of his strong suits. But I just don't know what his future with the team even would be moving forward, because he's also made some egregious mistakes as well. So,
yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty much, I hate to say it, but it sounds like he's probably gone too. And I mean, like, we can, we're all kind of the same mind frame where we don't harp on the first and second round picks as much because he's hit with other picks. So it's like you can go down every team's draft selections over the years, and like you said, 50% you're probably doing pretty well. And if you're getting starting production out of guys in the 4th and 5th and 6th, whatever rounds, I mean, what more can you ask for? Because now if you redraft the entire class, those guys are probably going in like the 2nd round. Like Darnell Mooney's a 1st round pick or 2nd round pick now. Like, you can switch it around and make arguments for and against Pace with the draft. So I mean, I don't want to harp on Pace too much, but it's tough to see a future with him because of we don't know what's going to be coming in here. Like if Ted Phillips is serious about stepping down this time with the talks that he's had on the side about, the private discussions about possibly stepping down, which needs to happen. I think we all agree on that. Just for the simple fact that you need to be able to bounce ideas off of more football-minded people, like you're saying. I mean, who does Ryan Pace have to talk to? His head coach? Like his scouting department, I guess? Like, other than that, it's who is he running ideas off of when it comes to contracts and extensions and kicking the can down the road and, for
making beer and water and food more expensive than the biggest shitbox stadium in the entire NFL.
Mm-hmm.
All of it. The whole organization is trash. And in order to get back to, like, the glory days, which, like, they wore leather helmets and shit, bro, like, before any of us were born. Like, I'm talking, like, our grandparents were probably kids. Because if you look at the Bears' history, right, we're good for that one-off year, right, every maybe 5-10 years. And our only Super Bowl is essentially the same model, a one-off year where we had some good years around it, but that team probably, like, it's hard to win 2 Super Bowls, but that team should have at least made one more Super Bowl, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want the people that were around for that to come from my head, but from an organizational standpoint, like, we have never really had sustained excellence, definitely not in any of our lifetimes, and a lot of our listeners' lifetimes, to where it's like, it's run too much like a business where, as we've said on this show before, I think Ron may have brought it up, winning sells. If you just put out a winning product on the field, everything else falls in there after that. Like, look at the Steelers, look at the 49ers, look at the Cowboys. Like, the Cowboys are one of the best teams in the NFL right now, and I think they actually have a real chance at winning the Super Bowl. That's crazy to say to some, but they have a really good defense, and their offense is just as good when it wants to be. Sometimes it doesn't want to be. But for the Bears, the next 3 to 5 years with the stadium, with the new head coach, with another window gone and having to recycle players and all that, is going to be one of the most pivotal 3 to 5 year periods in Bears history, in my opinion. Tinfoil hat, Bdon, no monopia yet.
No, I honestly, I agree with you, man. I don't think that's that hot of a take. I think it's very true, because I think now you're starting to see, and I was talking to a good friend of mine, Redrick, about this earlier, that, like, even when Trestman was here and, like, the Gong Show was happening, I don't think the fan base was as, like, angry at what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was no fire Trestman chance at his son's football game. There was no fire Trestman chance at the United Center or at Notre Dame or at all these other places. Like, these fire Nagy chants have been everywhere. I've been to at least 2 events at the United Center since those began back in November that broke out at some point. Like, I think it's just finally getting.
It's such a shit show, dude.
It is, and I think Bears fans are finally fucking tired of it. They're like, hey, we put up with this team being terrible. Like I think just on the top of my head right now, I go starting with the year 2000 to now, so a 21-year period. The team had what? And I'm not counting last year because that playoff.
They had 2001. They had 2000, 2005, and 2005. Yeah.
2010.
Yeah,
and then nothing again really until like 2018.
Yeah, and then they're going
13.
So that's like 5 years in the last 20.
Like Lovey's last year, they were good, but they
missed the playoffs though.
Yeah,
no, they sucked down the stretch. They pulled the Arizona Cardinals.
So but it just goes to show, like, if we can sit here and count on our hands and toes the amount of years that the Bears were good in a 21-year period, that's a problem. And I think Bears fans are.
I think it's just one hand. I think it's just one hand.
It really is. I think it's just 5. I can think of 5 really good seasons.
I think it's just one fucking. It should be hands and toes because we have enough hands and toes. Unless you guys are some Antonio Alfonseca motherfuckers with a 6 finger, but we each have 20 fingers and toes, and we should have at least half of those filled with good years. Instead, we're filled with a quarter, and. Yeah, I mean,
and they're not sustained either. It's not like there was one window.
It's a one-off every time. Yeah, it's always a one-off. Yeah,
it's always a one-off. The only time it wasn't a one-off was the 05 to 06 team because 05 they were good, and then 06 they finally got over the hump because the offense played a good enough to get them to the.
Anyone but Rex.
That's what makes it hard to defend Pace. Like I like a lot of things that Pace has done, and that's what makes it hard to defend him because the contract situations that he's put the Bears in as far as cap goes and guys that he needs to cut and keep, like Kyle Fuller. I know he wasn't as good this year as years past with the Bears, but like the situations he's put the Bears in, it makes it unsustainable because you're basically playing for 1 year every year and you're not really considering, all right, what's next the next 2 or 3 years. Like you're basically going all in. If you fail that year,
you're toast.
Screwed.
Yeah, you're toast. And that's what this year was supposed to be. And it's like, think of this year in a phone booth, like real quick, right? So at the beginning of the year, everybody thought that no matter what, this is Nagy's last year, and that he, in our terms, was going to put everything on the table, put his meat on the table, and try his hardest to put together a playoff team. And it was apparent that at the beginning of the year, we had a team that looked like they were going to be competitive, right? Like they started the season like 3-1 or 3-2, and then. Now we're at this point to like, we didn't get a preview episode off, but like week 16, we're starting Nick Foles. Again, we're finding out now in week 16 that we are paying a quarterback $10 million that could have been doing what Andy Dalton did all year. So it's like, if you look at that like situation for what it is, $20 million paid to 2 backup quarterbacks that both kind of do the same things. Both are good, not great, right? Like Nick Foles didn't play terrible yesterday. He led the troops down on those 2 drives. He wasn't missing passes. He was getting smoked too. Like he was getting smacked around by the defensive line. Carlos Dunlap was getting after him, and I don't know. He's just a winner. He's a weird winner. It's never pretty with Nick Foles. It's never pretty with Andy Dalton. And so far, it hasn't been pretty with Justin Fields. But they found a way to get this one done, and I don't know what next week holds. Like, do we get a winning streak? Like, dare I say we get a little streaky streak going? But I don't know if this team's good enough to combine 2 weeks in a row and call it a winning streak yet. I think they would have to get the 3rd one, and then we could call it a streak.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I feel like if they are going to have a winning streak, though, like now's the stretch to do it. I mean, Minnesota is obviously. Yeah,
they're great for these streaks at the end of the season.
Yeah. Naturally, but like,
unbelievable.
Like, because like Minnesota in 2 weeks, like, yeah, obviously they lost to them on Monday Night Football. I was in a.
That was the most disgusting game. I feel so bad that you were
right, but it was a gross game. Like the Bears could have won that game. The Bears should have won that game. Let's be completely fucking honest. If they were even halfway competent in that game, they would have won that game. But like the Giants aren't good and they're really banged up. Like, isn't Sterling Shepard out? Like they have a couple of their big playmakers done.
Yeah, they got Glennon. It's Glennon and Jake Fromm, bro.
Right. Like
we can't lose that game, bro. We cannot.
I was just saying that's the thing. Like if they lose that, I know they're not going to, but like that would be cause for fire of Nagy.
That's a game though that we're going to be sitting here puckered up like at the end, like having to kick a field goal to win. Though it's not going to be easy.
Oh my God.
The Giants play good defense. That's one thing they do. They don't do much well, but they do play good defense.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, and so I don't know if we touched on it earlier. I know most people probably watching or listening know this by now, but because it's been beat to a pulp, basically, like 8 a.m. on Tuesday is like the time that they can start interviewing new head coaches, I think. So, I mean, even after this win, like, does that happen before? Like, are we going to get some late breaking news tonight, even after this win? I know they haven't like officially.
Dude, and the fucked up part is
they have to at least like give the coach notice that they're not returning before they can start to interview.
I don't even know where they
What
start.
they have though.
I don't even know where they start at, bro. Like, who can we call upon to come and fix this? Because I don't want them to just go after, like, you know, like the first thing that you see, the first shiny new toy. Like, I want them to, like, if they got to take a little bit of time to make this decision, then take a little bit of time. But it has to be the right guy.
I personally like Byron Leftwich. I'm a big Byron Leftwich guy. I think him being under Bruce Arians, who I think we can all sit here confidently say should have been the Bears head coach once upon a yesteryear. Yeah. Like learning from him, obviously working with Tom Brady has certainly taught him some things.
And he was a fucking baller when he played too. So that
he was a solid quarterback. And you want to know something? You want to know something? If I'm getting real specific here of why I like Leftwich, Leftwich's biggest knock as a quarterback in the NFL was his release time. Who else in this draft class for quarterbacks gets knocked for his release time? Justin Fields. So
who has the fastest release time in the NFL right now? Tom Brady.
Right.
It's fixed.
I feel like if anybody's going to understand what Fields is dealing with and can help him potentially fix it, it is a guy like Byron Leftwich because he's dealt with that himself.
Yeah.
And he's going to be a little more, I guess, compassionate, for lack of a better word, of like, he knows it's not going to happen overnight. Justin Fields isn't going to be able to fix his throwing motion in 2 weeks. Yeah. But if he consistently works at it, if he works with him, very, inclusively one-on-one, that to me is a guy that can make it work. Like, that's a guy to me that is a good young up-and-coming coach. I've been saying it since he got to Tampa with Arians because he
has a Super Bowl too.
Yeah, and like I think he was with Arians. I don't know if he was OC in Arizona, but he was at least quarterbacks coach in Arizona. Like
I think he was QB, and then he
as soon as he got to Tampa and was OC, I'm like that immediately screams a guy that could be a head coach someday.
Yeah,
like,
and
I mean, he's a guy that I would totally give a shot to. That's
I know a lap's going to come in the comments and say Jim Harbaugh, but that's like listen to me right now. I don't Michigan's going to beat Georgia this week. I'm sorry, Ron. I love you, Ron. But Michigan's going to win that game, and then they're going to build a goddamn statue for him because that's just how Michigan does things before they get obliterated in the title game. But that's neither here nor there. I don't think Harbaugh is a realistic option, and I don't want them to go like I want to stay NFL. I don't want them to pick a guy out of college, to be honest. Like, can we all be in agreement that a college guy is not going to be the right guy for this job?
I don't want a college guy.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's examples of it working with college coaches, but there's also more evidence that it doesn't work as often as you want it to work. So, like, especially with the
Harbaugh, considered few and far between. Harbaugh was one of the good ones.
Yeah, and widely considered one of the best college football coaches is Nick Saban, who did not have a successful NFL head coaching career. He had one good year, and then everybody figured him out.
And we know that Urban Meyer was like just a horrible hire from the jump, but like that didn't work either. I mean, Pete Carroll, I think he failed right off the bat too, didn't he?
Dude, like Urban Meyer. Just think what Urban Meyer is doing right now. He's probably in some bar watching Monday Night Football.
Getting danced on?
Yeah, getting danced on.
Playing pocket pool with somebody dancing on him.
Pop locked and dropped it on.
Dude, but like that's the thing with Harbaugh, like you guys said, he has no reason to leave at this point, and I don't want the Bears to go like, he's done a great job with Michigan, especially this year, but like it wasn't always like that even at Michigan. Like
his allegiance is to Michigan, not to a team that he played like 3 seasons for.
I don't want the Bears to go full homer. Like, are you going full homer for the nostalgia? Like, just because Harbaugh was
I really would have liked them to go after Saleh last year, the guy that's the head coach of the Jets. I really liked Saleh, but obviously they cut Matt Nagy. But yeah, I like the Leftwich pick. I've also liked Bdon over the years, but I also don't want like if we already got someone out of Andy Reid's coaching tree,
yep.
I don't
Keep
want
that shit away from me. I'm done taking flyers on Andy Reid.
Nothing wrong with Eric Bdon, but we don't need to retread those tires because we already went down that road with Matt Nagy. So it's like I don't really
that's
know.
why the Dable
I don't want Kansas City's offensive coordinator as the next head coach because I don't want. We already joke that we live in a simulation in times of flat cert, like a full.
We just run it back with the next guy up from Andy Reid.
Next man up. Like, what are we? The
and watch
farm team for the Kansas City Chiefs. Fuck.
He'll go and be a head coach and win like a fucking Super Bowl, and then
if he does, good for him. I just we are so mentally just distraught as Bears fans because of what happened the last time we got a coach from Kansas City. Like, I don't think any of us want that just for the sake of the PTSD that might.
And I really like, as much as I don't care what happens, I wonder what happens to Matt Nagy after this. Did Ian Book just do a thing?
He just threw a pick six.
You're lying.
Swear to God.
No.
Just threw a pick
one
six.
of your bets are smashed.
Not great, Ian Book. God damn it. Well, at least it was early.
For those that might be newer listeners, which I'm sure most of them are loyal, and we appreciate every single one of you. Obviously, Bdon is a huge Notre Dame guy, and Joey, you're a Notre Dame guy too, right?
Yeah,
I'm the only one here that's not a Notre Dame guy, but I like Ian Book. I respect Ian Book. I appreciate what he did in college as a Notre Dame quarterback. Obviously, winningest in their program's history as a starting quarterback. But that is not a great way to start. But hey, welcome to the NFL, kid.
I did that.
Got it out of the way.
I did that to him, dude.
You did because you rode the.
Because your parlay.
I didn't parlay it. I didn't parlay it. I solo bet under a half interception, and he threw
you know what?
Fucking third play.
You know what got you though? Because you were just talking about taking a week off if you hit the other parlays tonight, not including that.
Oh no, they're down 7. He's gonna go over on all his yards.
He's gonna get the passing yards, yeah.
And the money line's not in there. We just need Ian to do his salami dong thing. He'll get the ball back. He's got 4 yards. He's already cooking. Don't let Ian cook. Don't let Ian Book cook.
He's got 4 yards. He's cooking. That's like the Bears offense. Like the Bears.
The bar is so low, dude. But going back, let's get a little bit back on the rails now that Ian took me off them. Hopefully the Bulls are winning, so I'm not in sports pain tonight. But
the Bulls
this game
currently winning by 2.
Oh, there we go. I would like it a lot more if they were winning by 3, but we'll get there. Free throws, something like that.
Hey, can I first half here?
Can I stop you real fast? Cody had a hilarious tweet. He was like, if Ian Book scores the first touchdown, I will say something nice about Notre Dame. And literally like seconds later, there was the pick.
Oh, okay. So Cody did that, not me. Because me and Cody have good ways of mushing things, but I'm going to blame Cody this time. I am just a stan in the fullest effect. And like I said, I'm sick in the head. I made every single bet that had no reason hitting today on my boy Ian Book because he has more fucking wins than Joe Montana. Not to make this Irish on tap. You guys can catch that on Wednesday because they got a bowl game this week. But getting back to this game, let's get a successful win. We get to actually be happy about our players of the game. And, well, actually, we didn't have pregame players of the game, but we can at least be proud of our guys for finding a way to win. Because usually we're picking, like, who our players of the game were after we just got our dicks ran it through the dirt. This time we actually won a game, so there's a reason for us to pick these guys.
True.
Ron, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I feel like I'm going to steal probably both of your guys's right out the gate here, and I apologize. Offensively, by far, my player of the game is none other than David Montgomery. He was the only player for the Bears to have over 100 combined yards. He had 61 in the receiving game. He had 45 on the ground. Just getting it done, running people over, looking like a franchise running back, and continuing to prove that anybody that says that the Bears should trade him on Twitter because of Herbert needs to have their head examined, because I don't think Montgomery shouldn't leave the Bears until he starts to decline as a player. That's just how I feel about David Montgomery. And I think he's a bruiser, so he's going to take a lot more punishment than most running backs, but he strikes me as a guy that can keep it up. And then defensively, I know he's not the highest guy on the statistics list for the last game, but I'm going to give a little nod to Thomas Graham again, because I was in attendance on Monday night. Obviously, we didn't have a show. 3 passes defended against Minnesota, had another one yesterday against Seattle. We were talking about it before we jumped on the show. He's already tied for second on the team with 4 passes defended. and he's only played 2 games. So I'm going to give a little nod to Thomas Graham Jr. I think he's balling out at the right time, proving why he needs to be on this team next season. So those are my 2 guys that really stuck out. Obviously, a lot of other guys that did too, but right off the jump, offense, defense, those are the 2 for me.
The pass was tipped. It's not Ian's fault. Joey, for you.
Way to throw that in there real quick.
Slider in there.
Miami is not a state.
No, neither is Ball apparently. Or actually, I don't know. Anyways, I think mine. I'll go with Damiere Byrd just for that one last play. Like, I know it wasn't, but that was just such a huge play. I mean, he only finished the game. I think he had 1 catch for 11 yards technically. So it's not like he had a huge impact on the entire, I mean, he did have an impact on the entire outcome, but, the entirety of the game, he wasn't like there that often. You didn't see him. You didn't see his name called that often, but just that play in general. I mean, it was a one-handed catch too, for him to be able to hold on to it at least with that one hand. So, and then get it knocked out at the end, but he held on to it long enough. It was pretty sick. I'll give it to Damiere Byrd on the offense. On the defense, I'll go with Robert Quinn. We talked about him a little bit earlier, and I mean, he got another sack. He obviously tied Richard Dent's marker now with 17 sacks, most in Chicago Bears franchise history for a single season. But he has, in every game this year outside of 2, with the Raiders game and the San Francisco game, he has had at least a half a sack in every game this season outside of those 2 games that he's played in. So it's not like he's just had these moments of these games where he just explodes for 4 or 5 sacks and then you don't see him for weeks. The guy has been a motor and he's been consistent every single week. So the fact that he got another sack, I think it just speaks to, like you were talking about, if we had Khalil Mack, if we had Akeem Hicks for this season, for most of the season, I mean, what is this defense allowing? Is it like 13 points a game? I mean, this defense outside of the secondary.
Yeah, it's not a lot.
I'm bringing up the comment from Scott earlier, Joey, literally backing up what you just said. Matt, Quinn, Hicks, if they're all healthy, he joked. He said our JV secondary could have had a better season if all 3 of those stayed healthy.
Eddie Jackson was trying to tackle yesterday. I did see some attempts.
He's been a little bit better too. I've noticed at tackling in recent weeks. I don't know if that just speaks to how much shit that he's gotten online on Twitter in the media, because people have been just dogging him, saying he hasn't been playing great because he's not getting takeaways. But how do you get takeaways when you are avoided basically every game because you are the only playmaker in the secondary outside of Jalen Johnson most weeks, now that we have Thomas Graham back there too, which, by the way, didn't even start the game, which is another egregious mistake by this coach.
The only thing they got right was the captains by making it Fetty and Irvin. They should have made it Fetty, Irvin, and Graham. All former Seahawks. That's what they should have did.
I actually didn't like, I'll be honest, I didn't like that Fetty was a captain after the way that he came in there at the Tevin Jenkins play and just was like a dick about it.
Yeah, we know if Fetty lets his friends get beat up after a night drinking out with the boys.
Yeah, that dude. He's gonna let you beat on his girlfriend and just walks away from the situation.
Well, and here's the thing too. Sorry, you triggered something in my brain because obviously I am a former lineman. That shit pissed me off when I saw Fetty do that shit to Jenkins. Jenkins is doing exactly what you should do. Justin Fields does not get a single fucking call when he gets hit, when he deserves to get a call. Aaron Rodgers can get breathed down the wrong way and he gets a fucking flag. So, Jenkins is sticking up for his quarterback. Fuck it. I'll take the aggression and the appreciation as a quarterback that he's like, hey, at least my offensive lineman's got my back. I get a Fetty wanting to be like, hey, kid, you got to, keep your head. But the way he went about it made him look like the biggest jackass in the world, and I can't wait till he's on another roster in 2020.
And Montgomery
made me so mad.
Montgomery had already de-escalated the situation. He had already put Tevin Jenkins to the side, and Tevin Jenkins was just standing there, and then he comes up with finger waving, I'm gonna, what are you doing?
Trying to act like he's a fucking leader on the team, and maybe he is, but that's not leadership quality to me. What you do to him, instead of fucking bitching at him on the field, you talk to him on the sideline in a calm manner. You go, hey kid, I get it, man. I appreciate that you're sticking up for our quarterback, but you got to be smart in that situation. I get that. But in fairness, too, the refs also missed the fucking Vikings player punching Jenkins in the fucking helmet. So the refs will suck a big fat dick, too. So, but I digress. My blood pressure's getting up when we're talking about this.
Just a couple more points on that, though. I mean, like, I don't want to seem like we're just dogging Fetty here because he did have the fumble recovery on Foles's, with the strip sack towards the end, which kept the Bears alive and then eventually led to, the Bears winning the game. So he did come up big in that regard for the game the other day or yesterday. But I think, it just goes further than that. Like, how can you be more of a leader than like Montgomery? Like, even if you're a leader, you haven't played much this year. You've been on IR, then you come off IR and you do that, and it's just you just can't have that happen. So
if there's anything we know that Matt Nagy doesn't know how to do, it's read a room, as you see with his weekly press conferences and just the main jaggeroffery that he puts us all through as Bears fans. But 2 weeks left of it. I think both, like you guys said, are winnable games. And for this game, Ron, you might remember this video, but before the Bears went on their 7-game losing streak last year, 6-game losing streak, they had a Monday night game against the Rams. Very similar situation for me also because I had a parlay that was $1,000 parlay riding on the Bears. So on the episode previewing it, I made like this video. I know you've seen it. It's like cut over Dreams and Nightmares, and it's literally just Nick Foles with the visor on. Just BDN, big visor. Looks like Midnight Club Dub Edition, like an Escalade. I know you know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're saying.
250 yards, a touchdown, 2 touchdown drives in the fourth quarter, and that guy had to be as cold as ice because he hasn't thrown a meaningless pass all fucking year. And on a moment's notice, he was able to come in, and it wasn't the greatest start. Like some of those yards were empty calorie yards or fantasy yards, but we ended up getting the win at the end of the day. And then the know-it-all to know that Bird was going to improv his route to stay calm because Nick Foles is a cement mixer. He's not fast. You saw it even on that drive. Like Joey just brought it up where Fetty picked up the ball on that fumble that led to like a 2nd and 14, which since we won, I won't get into it, but why the fuck are we throwing into the end zone on 2nd and 14 to Cole Kmet? Like, that would have been electric. That would have been dope if Cole Kmet caught that, but I don't like that play call in that situation. But for my offensive player of the game, I regress. I got to go Big Dick Nick.
I like it.
I understand we were ratioed in freezing cold takes or whatever, and on the Twitter, you guys can go SYLSD, and if you don't know what that means, go look it up. And yeah, we didn't get in the business of having a faceless account to put out tweets to be in the business of deleting them. So that's the only thing I'll say on that. On the defensive side of the ball, I'm going country boy. I'm going our guy, Roquan Smith, the guy with the sunflowers, the guy with the snowballs, the guy with the porn stars, the guy that just has so much fucking fun being an NFL linebacker for the Chicago Bears. And you can tell that just like the great linebackers that came before him, it means a little bit more to be a Chicago Bear and to play that linebacker position. And he just leaves it all out there on the field. And you saw like the pictures he was posting after the game, like snowball fighting with fans and with the other players. So even in the midst of adversity, that guy's in essence in a contract year. He doesn't know what the future holds for him. He is out there having as much fun as possible and playing some damn good football week in and week out. And it's crazy to say we have won a football game. It is in my name today, but we are on to the New York Giants. Do you guys have any wrap-up thoughts before we wrap up this episode for today?
It would be nice to see 2 wins in a row.
That would be insane.
We don't have a first-round pick anyway, so what does it matter?
Yeah, and we gave it to the Giants. Ooh, should we lose to the Giants to make the pick worse?
I mean, the Giants already suck so bad; they're still going to get a top 5 pick with it now. Or
they're still going to fuck that.
No, actually,
they're going to draft like Kyle Hamilton.
No, we win and we make the pick better.
We make the pick that we gave them worse.
Or worse, I mean. Yeah.
We do.
Yes.
Oh, that'd be lit.
Because if we go 7-10 effectively and win out the last 3 games of the season, that first overall pick or that first round pick for the Giants goes from maybe 9 to like 11.
If we go 7-10, what a blue ball for all the Bears over 7.5 winners.
Hey man, I need one more win to cash my live mid-season
over 5.5.
Over 5.5. So let's fucking go. Get one win. I need
you literally have blue balls the size of Blue's Clues from back in the day.
Robin.
If they don't win this game, you might be on ice, dude. You might be like Lance Armstrong in it.
Speaking of us talking about the draft pick situation to our friend Alap here in the comments, he says he already wrote about that scenario in his takeaways, and you can read those takeaways over at www.ontapsportsnet.com. So make sure to check that out when you guys have some time after you're done listening to us here at Bears on Tap. So I wanted to plug our friend Alap because he does great work, and his takeaways are always fun to read because he gets sarcastic, he gets informational. It's a good mix, it's like us. We talk about good things, and then we have Bdon, throwing out Bdon onomatopoeias and other good stuff too. So, you got to mix the fun with the facts. That's all I'm saying. But yes, 2 wins in a row. That's all
the fact is we have that first win, so we just need one more of those. And then, anything can happen in that Vikings game. I'm for sure. I didn't make a food bet on the last Vikings game, so I have to make one on that last Vikings game. And I think it will play to my advantage. Maybe we'll get Summer or George eat some glizzies.
I like it. I'm a fan of it. I'll be in attendance too for that last Vikings game again. I get to see them play the Vikings both times this year.
Tell Kirk Cousins he sucks.
Super ironically. I will. If I see him, I will absolutely.
He got like 1 yard for each of his $1 million on his contract in the Bears game.
Yeah,
he was bad in that game, and Louis Riddick was like, "Oh, he's hitting his stride. He's in rhythm." Like,
no. He's not.
He threw a freaking the interception to whoever it was. I don't even recall who it was anymore. But literally, the dude was playing center field like he was catching a freaking fly.
Oh yeah, Deion Bush, yeah, dude, that was
all Deion Bush had to do. It was like an outfielder catching a pop up. He's just like, oh, I got it. Hold on,
dude. That was like a game. The game of 500 from back in the day. Bro.
Yeah,
bro. He threw it into an open cornfield, like the field of dreams, dude. He wasn't even aiming for anybody.
No.
Any final thoughts on the Seahawks that are now sleepless in Seattle and Mr. Unlimited?
No, I don't. Our friend Alap has a final thought for you, though, Bdon. He says Coastal is still not a state. Go Huskies.
Yes, Coastal is still not a state. My boys got hosed by the refs. And that's actually one thing, too, that we haven't talked about too much on this show. I think it's more just an NFL and like a college football program, but the refereeing at all levels of consumable football, even fucking FCS, has been terrible this year.
Atrocious.
And that's something that I think that in the NFL's form of their winter meetings and their off-season meetings that needs to be addressed, and at the college football level too, where there's a lot of stuff that's being missed. There's a lot of holds, a lot of DPIs that aren't DPIs, and I'm not even just saying like in the Bears game, like in the game-sealing interception in the Packers-Browns game, there was a clear defensive holding that was missed. Like I'm talking a bear hug. Yeah, a bear hug. So a lot of stuff happening in monumental moments of the game that is getting missed by the Zebras. But
are they worse this year than the replacement refs here?
It's tough to say because
they're neck and neck.
They are. I think they really are neck and neck because it's been brutal. And this is a great point that Lat brings up too, the inconsistency of taunting calls. Did we not see the DeMarcus Lawrence do the roll and
he was cuddling. He was cuddling with
Heineke. The ref was standing right there and didn't throw a flag. And literally, you saw all Bears Twitter go, if Cassius Marsh does that, he gets sentenced to 30 days in jail because of
electric chair, bro. His hair would be.
Even in the Bucks game, dude, we saw Tom Brady go to the sideline and yell at a coach or whatever, saying "Go fuck yourself," and he doesn't.
Tom Brady is lawless. No one has any rules when it comes to Tom Brady. He just does what he wants. That bastard.
No rules.
Yeah,
dude. But to your point about the officiating, though, real fast, we were talking about Fields not getting the roughing the passer calls and the late hit calls. Like we saw that be called for Nick Foles in that game, and Fields, does he get that call? What do we do to change? We could make this probably an entire episode, maybe even in the offseason or something. But I feel like there needs to be some sort of change, especially with these running quarterbacks too, with that penalty alone, where they're still looked at as real quarterbacks because they are. It doesn't matter that they can run; they need to be looked at as real quarterbacks. You got to call late hit.
And I think too, I'm not saying Fields is a bad slider, but there are some quarterbacks in the NFL that are terrible at sliding, like Joe Burrow. So it's it makes it hard on a defender. But yeah, I would just like to see some better officiating moving forward, given the amount of football that I consume with these two fat, thick eyes. Like there is just so many missed calls and so many like makeup calls and just a bunch of BS. And it's just like you don't want to see the game being left in the hands of the referee. And luckily, it didn't come down to that. I was a little scared with the way that play, the 2-point conversion was kind of a bang-bang play. But obviously, once you saw it, we were able to get the call. And my comment wasn't even too like pointed at the Bears game. It was just more in general. But we are Bears on Tap. We'll be back, I would say, Thursday. All the rest of the games for the rest of the season are Sunday games. There's no more Thursday night football. There's no more Saturday night football. It's sad. There's a hell of a lot of meaningless bowl games, as sports writers will have you know, that will be taking place. So there's still plenty of football to consume. And our Bears have an opportunity to end the season on a win streak. But like I said, we are Bears on Tap. We'll be back on Thursday. I'm your host, Brandon Suarez. You can follow me on Twitter at Bdon300. You can follow Ron Luce at Luce on Tap. And then you can follow Joey Ricotta at The Riot 326. We got nothing else for you guys. The Bears win 25-24 against the Seattle Seahawks. And Bear down.
Bear down.
Bear down.
Go Ian Book.